And I want to reassure Canadians, Mr. Speaker, there are currently no direct flights from South Africa to Canada.
Fears about a new COVID-19 variant are back with a vengeance here in Canada. After the news broke that countries across the world were closing their borders to a number of African nations that have this new variant, there were calls for Canada to do the same. Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Conservative leader federally Erin O'Toole calling on Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government to close the border to persons coming in from those countries.
Canadians don't want to see that mistake being made again. They don't want to go back into lockdown, Mr. Speaker. The mental health of the nation, the economy of the nation cannot handle that again. Canadians expect decisive action from this Liberal government. Is there a plan? What is the plan to keep Canadians safe from the African variant?
And Justin Trudeau announcing on Friday afternoon, hearing from his cabinet ministers, that they would be doing likewise.
Travelers who are flying indirectly will need to obtain a negative COVID-19 pre-departure test from a third country before continuing their journey to Canada. These countries include, as Minister Duclos highlighted, Lesotho, Botswana, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, and Mozambique. We are immediately requiring this third country testing for indirect flights from these countries, and it is a precautionary measure taking effect today.
But I'd like us to pause and ask a couple questions here. What exactly are the concerns around this new variant? There's been a lot of headlines that the variant could evade vaccines, that the variant may be more transmissible, that the variant may be more deadly. But this is not March 2020. Do we make these big sweeping decisions about shutting our borders, bringing in more restrictions based on maybe, might be, could be, we don't know?
We have seen a decision from this government before was Conservative members of opposition who called on this Liberal government to close the border back in January 2020 for the coronavirus, and they waited 3 whole months to do so, and by then COVID had spread across the country.
May I remind you that a lot of the fears around the Delta variant were later proven to not be true. There were concerns that the Delta variant would be much more severe for people. And we have since learned, although it hasn't been amplified as much as the original fears were, that that was not true. The Delta variant, not more severe. What's going on here with this new variant? What if it proves a couple months from now to not be more severe? Do we think that any time there are new variants emerging, and according to epidemiologists, according to the experts, that's what's going to happen with COVID-19. There is no COVID-0. This thing is not going away. There will be new variants, just like there are new versions of influenza every year. So do we shut down our borders to different parts of the world every year, every quarter, every 6 months, or what have you? Do you want to live your life that way for another year, 2 years, 3 years? At a certain point, when we find ourselves getting 2 years into this, do we not want to say, hold on a second, maybe we shouldn't be doing this out of an abundance of caution approach where we just shut things down at the first available opportunity? Maybe we say, well, hold on a second. Let's pause. Let's reflect. Let's actually look at the numbers and look at the data. We'll see what proceeds. Erin O'Toole, he said the reason why we've got to actually shut down the border is we've got to learn from the past, learn from our past mistakes, suggesting that Justin Trudeau was too slow to initially shut down the border back in March 2020. And maybe that was true back then in the first wave, but do you think that's true now? And is learning from the lessons of the past also about learning to not overreact, to learn, as a phrase that many public health officials have said, to learn to live with COVID? I'm not so sure I'm excited about this border closure. We'll see where this new variant heads, but one should hope moving forward, calmer heads can prevail.